Join me as I dive deep into the mysterious, fascinating, and often misunderstood world of Bitcoin to uncover what really makes it so valuable. When I first heard about Bitcoin years ago, I brushed it off as just another internet trend, something tech people talked about late at night on forums, something that would probably disappear just as fast as it appeared. But as time passed, and Bitcoin refused to fade into obscurity, curiosity pulled me in. Today, I want to guide you through that journey, breaking down its meaning, its mechanics, its myths, and its magic in a way that feels like a story, one you can follow even if you've never touched cryptocurrency before. When Bitcoin emerged in 2009, it arrived quietly. No press conference. No CEO. No shiny headquarters. Just a white paper published by someone, or perhaps a group, known only as Satoshi Nakamoto. The idea was revolutionary, a digital currency that wasn't controlled by any government, bank, or institution. Something that would allow anyone, anywhere in the world, to exchange value without seeking permission. At the time, few understood the importance of what had just been introduced. It was like the early days of the internet. Most people didn't see the potential because it felt too strange, too futuristic, too unfamiliar, but over the years, Bitcoin grew. It grew in value, in popularity, in awareness, and most importantly, in influence. And as it grew, so did the number of questions. Why does it have value? How can something digital, something you can't touch or hold, be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Why does the price swing so dramatically? Is it a bubble? Is it a scam? Is it the future? These questions, echoing through financial institutions, social media, family gatherings, and heated debates online, reveal just how polarizing and misunderstood Bitcoin remains even today. Let's begin with the skepticism because, honestly, every major innovation in history has been met with doubt. Think about the early internet. When online shopping began, people mocked the idea of typing their credit card numbers into a website. Many believed no one would ever trust a digital platform over a physical store. When email began replacing traditional letters, some thought it was a temporary phase. And when smartphones were introduced, critics claimed no one needed more than a simple keypad phone. History has a pattern. Humanity fears change until it becomes too convenient, too impactful, too revolutionary to ignore. Bitcoin faced that same skepticism. Many people questioned its legitimacy. They argued that because it wasn't backed by a government, it wasn't real money. They questioned its volatility, pointing to massive crashes where the price plummeted thousands of dollars overnight. They pointed to market manipulation. They pointed to illegal uses. They pointed to energy consumption. And they asked, how can something so unstable be considered valuable? These criticisms slowed Bitcoin's path to mainstream acceptance. Regulatory authorities didn't know how to handle it. Some countries banned it. Others embraced it. Banks were unsure whether to fight or adopt it. Even everyday people were conflicted, some were excited, some were terrified, and many simply stayed confused. And who could blame them? Bitcoin was unlike anything that came before. It didn't fit neatly into any existing category. It wasn't a stock. It wasn't a physical commodity. It wasn't traditional currency. It was something entirely new. But here's the interesting part, despite all this doubt, despite every crash, every ban, every wave of bad headlines, Bitcoin kept coming back. And not only did it come back, it came back stronger. Year after year, like a tide that refuses to recede, Bitcoin found new supporters, new believers, new adopters. Large corporations began adding it to their balance sheets. Payment platforms integrated it. Hedge funds started treating it like an asset class. Nations began recognizing it. Something about Bitcoin simply refused to die, and that something is what I want to explore deeply, because behind all the noise, behind all the hype and fear and confusion, lies the true answer to Bitcoin's value. And to understand that answer, we need to explore the factors that make Bitcoin unique: scarcity, decentralization, utility, trust, and most importantly, its role as a store of value. Let's start with scarcity. Unlike traditional money, which governments can print endlessly, often causing inflation, Bitcoin has a hard cap. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins. This number isn't just a guideline, it's built into the code. It's unchangeable, unalterable, absolute. This makes Bitcoin the first global asset with a fixed supply, something even gold cannot claim, because we never truly know how much gold is left to be discovered. As more people learn about Bitcoin, demand rises. But supply never does. This imbalance creates upward pressure on the price, similar to what happens with rare collectibles or limited edition items. But Bitcoin isn't just a collectible, it's a functional currency. This scarcity has given it a level of value protection that most financial assets envy. Next, decentralization. Bitcoin isn't controlled by a government, corporation, or central bank. Instead, it operates on a distributed network of computers around the world. No single entity can manipulate it, shut it down, or alter its rules. This decentralization gives Bitcoin a resilience that traditional financial systems can't match. Think about bank freezes, political instability, hyperinflation, or monetary corruption. In many parts of the world, these are daily realities. Bitcoin gives those people an alternative, a lifeline. A way to store value independently from their government. A way to transact freely without requiring bank approval. This leads us to another major factor, Bitcoin's role as a form of digital gold. Many investors don't buy Bitcoin because they need to make purchases, they buy it to protect their wealth. They see it as a hedge against inflation, against currency devaluation, against economic uncertainty. When traditional markets fall, Bitcoin often rises. When countries inflate their currencies, Bitcoin becomes an escape route. When people lose trust in their governments, they turn to decentralized solutions, and then there's Bitcoin's most compelling property of all, its function as a store of value. A store of value is something that maintains or increases its value over time. For thousands of years, gold served this role because it was rare, durable, and trusted. Today, Bitcoin is stepping into that role in the digital age. Despite its volatility, Bitcoin has experienced long-term upward growth. For early adopters, small investments became generational wealth. And for newer investors, Bitcoin is seen as a long-term asset that might outperform traditional markets. Bitcoin's ability to preserve value in a world where money is constantly losing purchasing power makes it extremely attractive to investors. Especially younger generations who are watching traditional financial systems struggle. This is why experts say Bitcoin could reshape the global financial system. It introduces a way to store value that isn't tied to political decisions or economic instability. It introduces a form of money that exists outside national boundaries, immune to censorship, free from inflationary pressures, and accessible to anyone with an internet connection. But beyond the economics, Bitcoin holds cultural value. It represents a movement, one toward financial freedom, independence, transparency, and autonomy. It represents a rejection of outdated systems and a step toward a more open financial future. People aren't just investing in Bitcoin for profit, they're investing in the idea that money should be fair, free, and decentralized. Now, let's talk about the emotional side of value. Because value isn't just numbers. Value comes from belief. From trust. From narrative. People believe gold has value because it's been used for thousands of years. People believe the dollar has value because governments enforce its use. And people believe Bitcoin has value because millions of individuals worldwide trust its design, its mechanics, and its potential. Value is a social agreement. And Bitcoin has gained enough believers that its value continues to grow year after year, but none of this means Bitcoin is perfect. It still has risks. It is still volatile. It can still experience sharp drops. It can still be misunderstood. And it still has a long way to go before full global acceptance. But the very fact that it has come this far, in just over a decade, shows the extraordinary strength behind its foundation. So what truly makes Bitcoin valuable? It's not just scarcity. Not just decentralization. Not just its technology. not just its community. It's the combination of everything. The fact that Bitcoin is rare, secure, global, permissionless, decentralized, and trusted gives it value far beyond what traditional assets can offer. And its ability to maintain value over long periods, even through chaos, makes it one of the most compelling innovations of this century. As we move forward, Bitcoin's influence will only grow. Countries will adopt it. Institutions will integrate it. Developers will build on top of it. And individuals, everyday people like you and me, will continue exploring what it means to hold a form of money that belongs to no one and everyone. It's not just scarcity, not just decentralization, not just its technology, not just its community. It's the combination of everything. The fact that Bitcoin is rare, secure, global, permissionless, decentralized, and trusted gives it value far beyond what traditional assets can offer. And its ability to maintain value over long periods, even through chaos, makes it one of the most compelling innovations of this century. As we move forward, Bitcoin's influence will only grow. Countries will adopt it. Institutions will integrate it. Developers will build on top of it. And individuals, everyday people like you and me, will continue exploring what it means to hold a form of money that belongs to no one and everyone at the same time. And now, as we reach the end of this deep dive, I hope you have a clearer understanding of why Bitcoin stands out in the world of finance and technology. Whether you see it as an investment, a currency, a tool, or a movement, its impact is undeniable. Bitcoin is more than just digital money, it's a revolution in how we think about value, ownership, and freedom. If you have any thoughts on what makes Bitcoin valuable, I'd love to hear them in the comments. And if you're curious about where cryptocurrency is headed next, make sure to check out the next video, where we explore upcoming trends shaping the future of digital assets. Let's keep learning, exploring, and challenging what we think we know about money. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want to slow things down for a moment and speak to you directly, not just as someone explaining Bitcoin, but as someone who once stood exactly where you are right now. Curious, cautious, intrigued, unsure. And if you're still watching, still listening, still absorbing, then something inside you is awakening. Something is telling you there's more to money than what you were taught growing up. Something is nudging you to explore further, to question, to rethink. And that instinct, that curiosity, is exactly where the real journey begins, because learning about Bitcoin isn't just learning about a new kind of money. It's learning about freedom, opportunity, technology, and the future all at once. And for many people around the world, it's the first time they've ever had access to a financial system that doesn't judge them, doesn't discriminate against them, doesn't restrict them, doesn't close its doors on weekends, and doesn't require permission to use. Bitcoin represents a system where you are in control. You decide when to send. You decide when to save. You decide how to store your wealth. You decide how much risk you want to take. You decide your financial destiny. Let's reflect on that for a moment. How many times in life do we really get that kind of control? Most of us grow up believing the financial world is something we must simply accept. We assume banks will always hold our money. We assume governments will always control our currency. We assume inflation is just a normal part of life. We assume saving is safe even when the value of what we save slowly disappears. But Bitcoin challenges those assumptions. It asks us to rethink value. It asks us to rethink ownership. It asks us to rethink trust, and that's why Bitcoin is so powerful. It gives you the chance to participate in a financial system that is transparent, global, and borderless. A system where the rules don't change on you overnight. A system where your money cannot be printed into worthlessness. A system where you can protect your savings from corruption, instability, and devaluation. A system where anyone, no matter where they were born, can have equal access to opportunity. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine a world where you don't have to worry about your money losing value year after year because of inflation. Imagine a world where wages don't feel smaller with every passing month. Imagine a world where banks don't set the limits. Imagine a world where people have full control of their own wealth without needing approval or permission from institutions. Imagine a world where you can send money across the planet in minutes, without giant fees, without delays, without forms or interrogations. This is the world Bitcoin is building. Not someday. Not eventually. Not in a distant future. Right now. Today, everyday people already use Bitcoin to store their savings. Families use Bitcoin to send money to each other across borders without paying expensive remittance fees. Entrepreneurs accept Bitcoin for their services because they want financial independence. People in unstable economies use Bitcoin to protect themselves from hyperinflation. And thousands of developers, innovators, dreamers, and pioneers are building tools around Bitcoin, making it easier and easier to use. You don't need to be a financial expert. You don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to be rich. You don't need a background in technology. The only thing you need is the willingness to learn. And by listening to this entire story, you've already taken the first step, and let me tell you something important. Learning Bitcoin today is like learning the internet in the 1990s. Back then, people didn't understand websites. They didn't understand email. They didn't understand mobile phones or digital communication. But the few who took the time to learn, who stayed curious, who explored the technology, were the ones who gained the most when the world finally caught up. Bitcoin is on that same track. Early adopters have already seen extraordinary benefits, but the world is still in the early stages of understanding what Bitcoin truly is. Adoption is growing. Awareness is spreading. Large companies, governments, and institutions are entering the space. But many people still don't understand it. They hear about Bitcoin, but they don't take the time to learn it. They watch the price move, but they don't study the fundamentals. They see the volatility, but they don't see the long-term potential. They hear rumors and headlines, but they don't dive deeper. You have a choice that many people ignore, the choice to understand Bitcoin before the rest of the world fully catches up. When people think about valuable opportunities, they often picture investments that are locked away behind wealth, connections, or privileged access. But Bitcoin is one of the only global opportunities available to everyone equally. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. It doesn't matter what job you do. Bitcoin is available to you just as much as it is available to billionaires, bankers, CEOs, or institutions. There is no first-class or second-class tier. Everyone is equal in a decentralized system, and that's why this conclusion matters. Because Bitcoin isn't just a topic to learn. It's a doorway. A doorway into financial literacy, technological awareness, empowerment, independence, and a better understanding of the future. Once you understand Bitcoin, you understand economic systems differently. You see inflation differently. You see investments differently. You see opportunity differently. You see money differently, but you don't have to dive in all at once. You don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. You don't need to move your entire savings. You don't need to take massive risks. You can start small, just like millions of people do. Start by learning. Start by exploring. Start by understanding what a wallet is. Start by understanding how to keep your keys safe. Start by testing a small amount. Start by watching the market. Start by reading. Start by participating. Every small step builds confidence, and as you learn, you'll discover something powerful. Bitcoin is not just money. It's education. It's a mindset shift. It's a new way of seeing the world. It teaches discipline. It teaches patience. It teaches responsibility. It teaches long-term thinking. It teaches sovereignty. It teaches critical thinking in a world where financial systems and media often provide confusing or biased narratives. Bitcoin inspires people to become more aware of their financial lives. It inspires them to ask questions they never asked before. How is money created? What is inflation? Why do currencies lose value? Why do banks have so much control? Who decides the rules of the financial world? And why does Bitcoin operate differently? These questions are the beginning of something important. Because the moment you start questioning your financial environment is the moment you start taking control of it. And Bitcoin is one of the greatest tools for taking that control. So if you've ever felt limited by your financial situation, if you've ever felt locked out of economic opportunities, if you've ever felt like your money doesn't go as far as it used to, if you've ever wondered why prices keep rising, if you've ever wanted more control over your future, if you've ever sensed that the financial system is slowly changing, then you owe it to yourself to understand Bitcoin. This isn't about hype. This isn't about chasing quick profits. This isn't about speculation. This is about education. This is about preparing yourself. This is about stepping into the future before you're forced into it. Because whether people are ready or not, the world is changing. Money is changing. Technology is changing. The digital economy is expanding. And Bitcoin is one of the leading forces driving that transformation. Think of where you could be a year from now if you begin learning today. Think of how confident you'll feel understanding a financial system that most people still struggle to explain. Think of the opportunities you could unlock. Think of the security you could create for your family. Think of the independence you could build. Think of the future you could shape. So as we wrap up this journey together, I want to leave you with this. Bitcoin is not just valuable because it is scarce or decentralized. Bitcoin is valuable because it empowers people. It gives individuals the ability to control their financial lives in ways the traditional system never allowed. It creates freedom. It creates transparency. It creates resilience. It creates opportunity, and this journey, your journey, starts with one choice, the choice to learn. So if today's story inspired you, let that inspiration guide your next step. Read more. Research more. Learn more. Explore wallets. Explore security. Explore Bitcoin's history. Watch the price movements but don't be controlled by them. Focus on understanding the foundation. Because the people who understand Bitcoin, not just the price, but the technology, the purpose, the philosophy, are the ones who benefit the most in the long run. Thank you for taking this journey with me. If you have thoughts on what makes Bitcoin valuable, share them in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you want to continue learning, exploring, and discovering the future of money, make sure to join me in the next video. The world of cryptocurrency is vast, exciting, and full of possibilities. And Bitcoin is just the beginning. Let's keep learning. Let's keep growing. Let's keep building the future, one block at a time.